We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
It's the Weiliotis podcast.
I like it.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of the Weiliotis podcast, where we break down a particular movie or director's body of work, discuss its various facets, and share our love for the motion picture. With me, as always, is my great co-host, good friend, writing partner, the great, the wonderful Mikey Wheel. How you doing today, man?
Hi, how are you, Tom?
I'm doing good, man. What's going on?
Nothing. We'd be good news anchors.
I know.
We're very good with banter and responding to one another. This is our 4th episode, so it's still awkward, but we're learning as we go. Also, I think we have to point out, like we do on every podcast, we are called the Weiliotis podcast. Once again, it has nothing to do with Ray Liotta. It just is our two names put together. Maybe one day we'll cover a Ray Liotta movie, such as a B movie starring Jerry Seinfeld. But until then, how about we bring on our first and only guest for tonight?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So our guest tonight is Annie Newton. Everybody give it up for Annie.
Hello, everybody.
Imaginary audience.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So Annie and I have known each other for like 6 years. I studied abroad with this guy named Jonah. And him and Annie's boyfriend, Steven, were both in a movie together, a found footage horror movie. It aired out at the Mile High Horror Film Festival in Colorado. That is actually happening, I believe, right now virtually until October 4th. Definitely check it out. I had the actor who played Jigsaw walk by me. It's a very cool festival. You get to watch like, I think we watched, what was it? Texas Chainsaw Massacre with one of the original actors, and there was a Q&A.
Yeah, and he was there.
It's so cool. And I'm just glad that they're still doing it, even though it's virtual. So Annie and Steven came out from LA. Jonah was back in New York. I was living out in Colorado. And since then, I've just been friends with Annie on Facebook, watching the movies and TV shows she's been doing. A little background, and this is all from your IMDb page. Born in Los Angeles. Grew up in Austin, moved back to the West Coast, and lived in the OC, as the kids call it. Lived in Colorado for a year, and now lives back out in LA, where she is an actress and professional equestrian.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a good combo.
Very cool. Is Seabiscuit your favorite movie?
It is up there, I have to say.
My dad always has one of 4 movies in our DVD player. It's Thomas Crown Affair, The Fugitive, Seabiscuit, and it's another action movie. Probably.
Okay, well, I just watched Seabiscuit for the first time in years the other day. I just talked to Steve about the Thomas Crown Affair the other night.
Yep.
And then we just watched The Fugitive, so...
I'm going to tell my dad to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
In case you've missed the other 3. Yes,
trio.
this is the one you need to listen to because it's very relatable.
He's going to be so proud.
He doesn't know anything else outside of these movies, so this will be a big thing for him. I don't even think I've seen The Fugitive. I've seen the Thomas Crown Affair. I've never seen The Fugitive.
It's good.
I'd like to. I like the cast a lot. So yeah, I guess what we'll do is kind of kick off like we normally do. We'll talk about some movie news. We'll talk about some TV shows and movies we've been watching, and that includes Annie as well, if you want to throw in your 2 cents. Who wants to start off? Have you watched any cool movie trailers? Any movies got pushed back you were really waiting to see?
I am so bad with all of this because my boyfriend is like... So, I mean, this is what he does, right? He's a director, so all he does is just watch the new trailers, and he's all up to date with the news. So I just kind of rely on him to just show me whatever is like.
Oh, the iTunes trailer app. Does he use that?
The what? Oh yeah.
That's like one of the first things I do when I wake up. I'm like, all right, what new movie trailers have come out? What movies I didn't even know were being remade?
Twitter. He's always on Twitter.
Oh yeah, you can just type in movie news. There's a couple of good websites for horror or specifics.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Joker?
Yes.
With Pattinson?
Wait, the Batman trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean the Batman trailer.
Yeah.
Sorry, see, I'm really bad at this.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if we talked about this last episode, but Joaquin Phoenix was offered $50 million for 2 sequels to the Joker. Which, if you know anything about Hollywood, there's the $20 million club: Brad Pitt, Leo, Jennifer Aniston. Nobody gets $25 million to act in a movie, and he's.
You know what? I'm so with him though, because that was such a masterpiece.
Oh yeah.
And like that performance was it was flawless. You know, it was so amazing. And I don't think that you gotta let things like be that masterpiece. You know, don't drag it on.
Joaquin is not somebody who's going to sign on for a paycheck. I mean, he is like, I watched him on, I think, Good Morning America or 60 Minutes recently. Like, he's such a humble and artistic guy who, is probably going to be on that never did a sequel list, no matter what money they send, because he's probably found a more interesting project.
Right.
And I think my wife put it best. The movie The Joker is beautiful. It's incredible. It's so well done, but I'll never watch it again. It is the most depressing movie. It's very heavy. It's hard to watch.
It is. Totally. Although I will say, if it's Todd Phillips again, and if it's self-contained, which I'm sure it would be, I don't think they would try to tie this into existing IP, other DC, movies or characters. Right. So if they kept it self-contained, I tell everybody this. I'm like, go get that bread, Joaquin, because he deserves it, man. He's the best.
He deserves another house somewhere. No, I think the coolest thing too is Todd Phillips set the record for the highest grossing R-rated movie with The Hangover. Wow. And then Ted by Seth MacFarlane took it back, filmed in Boston. And then Todd Phillips took it back after all these years with The Joker. And that's why Joaquin can get offered $50 million, because it's made billions of dollars at the box office. And it's such a standalone film. I think that they might reference Batman at one point, but I mean, it's so different. I mean, Suicide Squad had one scene with Batman, but the Joker is its own thing. There could be sequels, there could be prequels, but the Batman I am more than excited for. I mean, I'm
so excited.
We covered Uncut Gems and Safdie Brothers and their movie Good Time with Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is, I say, this generation's Matthew McConaughey and Ben Affleck, because he started out doing garbage movies and then started to prove himself and is now the best actor today. I mean,
no, he's amazing. I love him.
I cannot wait for that. It's an indie Batman movie, and Paul Dano, I mean, he's gonna go dark for that role.
Paul Dano.
He is the best indie actor, and I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
It's a great cast. I mean, you got Paul Dano, you got Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. You have what's her name? Who's Catwoman in it? Zoe Kravitz.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just Colin cool casting. I'm all over it.
Yeah, very cool casting.
A lot of people are upset that there's more bad guys than the Christopher Nolans, and people are like, I don't want to see the Tim Burton movies, and it's but everybody wants to see the Tim Burton movies again.
I only want to see the Tim Burton
movies. Those were the best. They're kitschy to today's standards, but those were fantastic movies.
Oh, absolutely.
I think too many people are only Christopher Nolan. It's he did a great job. Probably the best, but don't let that kind of ruin it for any other Batman. I was gonna say, we did our my wife did a maternity shoot down the street where we're living right now, and they're actually filming a movie. They're setting up the set right now. I've never really been on a set or seen the things, but there's services, there's everything set up. The production starts soon. It's a horror movie called Shrine, and it's starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Negan from The Walking Dead, Carrie Elwes, who is also Jigsaw. So it's Negan and Jigsaw put together. And then Katie Aselton from The League, from Casual, Mark Duplass's wife. So I'm very much hoping to see them in town and get
that's cool
social distance selfie. Because I mean, those are some of the people that you kind of have to go a little crazy for. And you're oh my God, I don't want to make this weird. This is a small
You know
town.
what? Like, it's so cool to when people shoot movies outside of LA. Everyone that like you don't really have to like especially when you're shooting an indie film outside of LA. You don't really have to worry too much about people getting all like pissed off and everything because people are just so enamored with the whole process in Hollywood and stuff. But in LA, it's like, God damn it, my street's closed again.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It'll be late for work.
So mad. Yeah.
Well,
like, another trailer.
Wasn't it? Didn't Will Smith like close down half of like Chicago for Men in Black? He had like a two-story trailer, and he closed down like half of the city, and people were like, "Really?"
I don't know.
Like, he's a good actor. Yeah, there was something like that. Yeah, I mean, I have so many. I have a friend who lives out in LA who like goes to the same supermarket as the dad from This Is Us, Milo Ventimiglia, and she's like, "Yeah, it was casual. Just kind of saw him." I mean, like,
you just get so like jaded and like used to it.
but I'll ask you this. I had a friend who worked at a hotel, and he always met celebrities, and I always asked him like, who would you lose your job over if they walked in? So like, I'll ask you that. If you're at a supermarket and like Tom Cruise walks in or Oprah, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm gonna give
I would lose my job over. I don't know, because see, here's the thing is I'm like super afraid to approach people because I just like assume they don't want to be like,
fair
spoken to. But if I were the type of person to approach someone, a Shia LaBeouf, hands down.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, yeah. And he would either be the nicest person in the world and take like 12 selfies with you.
No, I'd be like, bro, I have a joint.
Yeah.
Let's hang out.
Yeah.
He is. There's like no brain.
And my boss would be like, Annie, not okay. I'd be like, I'll see you later.
You'd be like, have you seen Even Stevens? This is that guy
Yeah.
from Even Stevens. He is, there's nobody better. I know I say everything's the best. Every movie is my favorite. He is just
like
last year
everything
alone.
he touches is gold.
The Peanut Butter Falcon and what was the movie he made on his life?
Honey Boy.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
The two of those.
Very good.
He got a full chest tattoo for the new movie that he's in. He's in a gangster movie. I mean, I get he's crazy, but I think I would say to anybody, you've seen him in the media, you've seen him in the press, you've seen him kind of being a mess. Watch Honey Boy, and you will truly understand why he is the way he is. And like, it's one of those nature versus nurture where you feel bad. You don't feel as like, embarrassed for him or upset by it. It just like makes sense. And
Yeah, I've always really respected everything obviously like not fighting in public or whatever, he's gotten in trouble for in public, but it's like, everything he's done from the art exhibit, and watching, all his movies in a row. And so like, I've always just had such a respect for his choices, I guess.
I don't think he would be somebody who would get upset if you walked up to him, because every art installation he's done is like, hey, walk up to me. Like, punch me, spit on me. Yeah, I mean, like, so he literally did something where he said, you can punch me, you can spit on me, you can do whatever. So like, if you ran into him at like Whole Foods, he'd probably be like, oh, you didn't punch me or spit on me. Like, this is a good thing. This is like a one up from every other encounter I have with people. Yeah. It's like the Jackass guys. Like they've talked about it. Like everywhere they go, people want to hit them in the nuts or be hit in the nuts by them. And they're like, that's not who we are 24/7.
Actually, just judging by like all interviews with Shia LaBeouf and like what he's done in the past, he definitely seems like someone who, like, if you were even said hi to him, he'd want to just like know about your past. He'd sit down with you and just be like, oh, tell me about your family. And he'd be like, okay. Like, he just seems like that. I don't know. He seems like a cool person for sure.
And he'd be like, what did you hate about my last movie so I can be better? Or like, critique it for me. Tell me what you didn't like. Yeah. So that's one piece of news. Tom, do you have somebody? Mine would be Bon Iver for musician.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Bon Iver, because, he's my god. And then I would also say for like Donald Glover, of course.
Oh,
and then I think...
Also a musician.
Yeah, he's everything. I also think that like Tom Cruise, I'd want to meet him. He's so crazy, but like, okay, I'll say this, and I've probably said this on another episode. He is one of the best actors of our time, and he has the biggest balls of anybody. Every stunt that he does on Mission Impossible, He did Edge of Tomorrow, that movie that was like a Groundhog Day action.
So good.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. He called up the director and he was like, I want to make a sequel. And the director said, nope, I don't do sequels. Tom Cruise said, come out to dinner. I just want to pitch you the idea. And at the end of dinner, the director was like, I'm going to go home and start writing this. I mean, like,
Wow.
he's crazy. I get that, but like, he knows what he's doing. He's one of the best. He's stayed relevant. And I would want to ask him a lot about like his process, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I was going to bring up that I think for the next Mission Impossible, or no, actually, because Doug Liman directed Edge of Tomorrow, and I think they're actually trying to make a movie that's literally partly filmed in space. Like they're trying.
Oh yeah,
They
they
are.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom
Elon
Cruise
Musk.
might be in space
Right.
filming a movie.
Where he
Yeah.
belongs. That's like where he was born. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. Yeah. Who would yours be, Tom? Music, actor, actress?
For musician, I'd probably say James Blake.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I've been listening to him a lot lately, and I love any musician that, or any artist that collaborates with like people you would never expect them to
Bon Iver,
collaborate
Kanye
with.
West. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like he's one of those guys, and then as far as an actor goes, we talked about him earlier, probably Joaquin Phoenix. Like even though I know he's that kind of person that doesn't want to like be in the limelight,
Yep.
it would just be so hard not to go up to him and talk to him because like he's the best. Like he's in
Yeah.
The Master's one of my favorite movies. Like he's just
Oh.
incredible.
I have a question for you, Annie, being an LA person. And this is just how jaded I am. This is why I never ended up in LA, because I probably just would have probably gotten punched by a security guard real quickly. Can you become friends with an actor and actress? Like, okay, so say you're out at a bar and somebody's playing darts and you walk over and you're like, hey, can I play? And they're like, yeah, my friend's in the bathroom. Like, you want to take a turn? And then you guys become friends and you exchange numbers. If you see like John Krasinski at a bar, like, can you just walk up and like not acknowledge that he's John Krasinski and just be like, hey man, like crazy Red Sox game, and just like talk to them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I've never really been in that position. I waited tables. I was a cocktail waitress downtown for a while, and like I had some encounters with like there were a lot of foreign stars that came in, and I didn't know they were stars, you know.
Yep.
But they would be like, "Oh, that's a prince," or like, "Oh, that's he's huge in Spain." It's like, "Oh, okay, I don't know.
Yep.
What Coke?" but but like, Terry Crews is coming, and like Zac Efron and stuff, and they just, it's like you just treat them like anybody else, and they're always super nice. And
Terry Crews seems like the nicest person on the planet.
he was the nicest person ever, and I am such an idiot because I remember it was the end of my shift, and it was me and another server, and it was kind of dead, and he came in with his family, and I didn't see who came in. And like I was so busy, when you're just your brain, like you're in work mode, and so there's like anything outside of that context like just doesn't really click with you. And this guy comes up behind me and he's like, "Excuse me, could we move to this room over here?" And I was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, of course." But it was in the other server's section, and I was like, "Hey David, like just take him or whatever." He's like, "Thank you so much," and he turns around and I was like, "That's Terry Crews."
No way.
But spent some time there,
Yes.
but didn't.
Oh
So I
man.
was so worried about just getting off of my shift.
Wow. That tells you a lot about the service industry. Where you're like,
Yeah.
I just want to get out of here. Terry Crews, not right now, please.
Yeah.
I don't have time
Zac
for
Efron,
you.
Are we splitting this bill or what? Like, figure
Wow.
it out.
I think that's nice to hear about people who are nice in person, because I remember seeing a TikTok recently of a woman who waits in New York City, and she gave every person who came in like celebrities 1 through 10s of how they were, like who didn't tip well, who did.
Yeah.
You only hear the horror stories, really. Like it's nice hearing her and you highlight like, I met all these people and they're nice. Like,
Super nice.
you don't-
Yeah.
And something resonated with me recently is, you would meet, and I've met a lot of musicians because I go to concerts more than anything. And the people I meet, nobody else knows who they are. They can walk down the street, but to me, they're like the best, my Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And I've just met so many people like that. But, I've heard people say, oh, I met this person, they were such an asshole. I met this person, they were such an asshole. And then somebody one time said, yeah, but haven't you had a bad day? And I'm like, yes.
Totally. And the thing too is like, these people are just trying to live their lives. It's like, how many people are walking up to them and, talking to them, and it's like they just want to friggin' go to the grocery store.
And sometimes
Yeah.
I think they're very personable and respond and take pictures with fans.
And also, and like, who's the guy? Shoot. Can't remember his name. He's a great indie actor. I think he's Indian. He was in that movie.
Dev Patel.
Yes. He worked out at the same gym as Steve, pre-COVID.
Wow.
And he was outside one day on the phone, and we had just watched his movie that had just come out, and we loved it. And Steve, he was on the phone, but Steve was kind of like, "Love your work, like loved the movie," and he like pulled the phone away and was like, "Thank you so much, we really appreciate it," And like indie, film stars especially, because a lot of people don't really know who they are off the bat, and we'll see them sometimes, and it's like, oh shit, that was sometimes it like registers a little too late though, and you're like, yeah, that was someone I should have said hi to.
So some people must like it. I mean, like for me, I know my favorite comedians can walk down to any street, but if I saw them, I would be like, I'd probably bring attention to them, which they probably wouldn't want. But like, I am that kind of person who, if I saw them, like, I kind of feel like they might be like, oh wow, somebody recognizes me here. Like, that's kind of nice.
Totally. Well, and I think too, if you are like, oh, I loved your work and everything, you appreciate what they've done, and it's not necessarily like a star sighting, like a super cool, celebrity kind of pedestal thing.
It seems like the one or two things I think any like celebrity would not like is taking a picture without their permission, like just putting the camera in their face, or like asking like, "Hey, do you got work?" or something. Because, I think if you don't do those two things, I think you're good. I think they'll have like pretty good response.
If you don't look like the paparazzi, you're pretty much going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
My experience last year, my wife and I went to go see Jonesy and Alex. So Jonesy's from Sigur Rós. Him and his boyfriend Alex have an ambient project called Jonesy and Alex Rice Boy Sleeps. It was like my therapy. It changed my life. We went to see them last year in Denver, and the whole entire day I was like, we're going to go out and eat before, because that's what we do. What if they walk into the restaurant? What would I do? They walked into the restaurant. I walked up to them. Like, I didn't take a picture. I shook both of their hands. I started crying. I told them that like they changed my life, how obsessed I was. And then I went back to my seat and I completely blacked out. The waitress came over. She's like, "Are you ready to order?" And I'm just like crying. And I'm like, nope, gonna need a while. And like, that was it. And then like, but I didn't take pictures. I didn't do anything else, which was hard for me to do. But like, they were just there to have dinner. All I want to do is say that, and I said what I need to be said. But like, that was probably the highlight of anybody I've ever met. When you meet somebody that's like changed your life in that way, and like,
well, and also too, I know so many directors and actors who are very you're very self-conscious about your work a lot of times, and it's like, even if something has succeeded in the theaters or whatever, it's like there's still that element of insecurity and everything. So when someone does come up and kind of validate the fact that their work did impact their life positively, then it's great. It's like we went to see I think it was Neon Diamond, Nicholas Winding Refn's film.
Oh, Neon
I think
Demon.
It was Neon Demon. See, I'm the worst.
Tom knows. He's good.
You fact checker. But we went to see it at the Hollywood Dome, and afterwards he was out in the audience. Like, I mean, he was just talking to fans and stuff, and Steve was so nervous to go walk up there, and he like regrets it so much. I think it's his one regret in life.
That's exactly how I felt, is if I didn't say hi, I would regret it. And like, the worst thing they could say is go, "Oh, not now." But like, like, we're eating it. Yeah. And I think I made it so quick that I was like, "Hi, you've changed my life. I love you. I can't wait for the show. Okay, I gotta go." Like, it was like, I always say, like, I was like a girl meeting Justin Bieber. Although I would also be the same way if I met Justin Bieber, because I love Justin Bieber. So, wow. I guess, all right, I'll fly by at the rest of our movie news here. Succession, Schitt's Creek swept the Emmys. That's all we need to know. Schitt's Creek set a record for winning in every
Yep.
category, or their category, winning everything they were nominated for. Succession, best show on television probably right now. Swept. Great to see. The Blythe Manor official trailer came out today. It's the follow-up to A Haunting on Hill House. Looks great. And then I wanted to get into this because next month is October. I've already talked about Jigsaw on this. I learned a really cool story recently. Chris Rock is responsible for the new Saw movie. It's a spinoff. And basically, I saw the trailer. I didn't know what to feel because it's not a horror movie. It's more kind of crime thriller. But I learned the history of it. He made an indie movie a couple of years back. Tom, maybe you can help me. It's called The Five.
Director of Spiral, the new.
No, Chris Rock movie he wrote and directed. It's called.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking
What
about?
is it called? I know you're talking about. It came out.
Yeah.
It came out like 5 years ago.
So he made this movie, and I guess he's a director, makes a very serious movie, and the movie premieres at this theater, and next to it is a made-up Tyler Perry movie called Boo. It's like Medea Boo by Tyler Perry, and his movie has nobody in line, and the Tyler Perry one, the line is down the block. The people who are responsible for Tyler Perry and his movies, I believe it's Lionsgate, they saw that and were like, hey, Chris Rock kind of poked fun at you. Why don't you make a movie called Boo, a Medea Halloween? And that is how Tyler Perry made that movie. It made hundreds of millions, whatever, at the box office. Chris Rock runs into the head of the production company at a wedding and says, hey, like, saw you made Boo a Medea Halloween. Kind of joked around with him and said, I didn't see any money from that. Like, I'm responsible. Where's my money at? Joking around. Then he said, I always loved Saw and what you guys did with it. Have you ever thought about making it like 48 Hours, the Eddie Murphy movie?
Cool.
And then a few weeks later, one of the production people called up Chris Rock and was like, can you come in and pitch it? And now he's like directing and starring in a Saw spinoff with Samuel L. Jackson.
That's awesome.
So neat little tidbit.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that now it's like I love when comedians try to take on like heftier roles. They try to take on like, more serious roles, and like Chris Rock, you know, he has Spiral, which should have already been out. If not for COVID, it would have been out back in May. And then same with Fargo season 4. He's the lead in that. Who
With
weirdly
Jason
enough,
Schwartzman.
yeah, weirdly enough, I was because Annie, I don't know if you know, but I do security on like film sets and all that. And
Oh, cool.
recently, I can't disclose it, but I just did I did like a supervising gig on a tech scout. So I was at locations they were on, like actually scouting the city, and one of the art directors came. She had just come to Atlanta to work on this show, and she actually told me she worked on Fargo, the last season of it. And I was like, oh, I'm like, how was Chris Rock? Like, and she's like, oh, he's incredible. She said he actually had a hard time. Like he like laughed after like every take, even though like it's pretty serious material, but he's like, he couldn't keep a straight face. But
Really?
like when he got the line right, he's incredibly good. So I'm so excited to see
I'm
that.
excited. It's him and Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I haven't watched the last season or two. Like, I didn't even see the Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, I didn't see
It's
I want.
good.
Is it all linear or can you jump?
You can jump, yeah, because
Okay.
season 1 is like 2006, and then
That's what
season
I-
2 goes back to like the late 70s, and then season
Okay.
3 is 2010. So it's all over the place, but no, it's worth checking out. It's cool. It's one of the better TV shows out there for sure.
Yeah, I need to go back. Speaking of movies and TV shows we've been watching, I'm almost done with The Sopranos on season 6 right now, and then
Nice.
I'm probably halfway to the first season of The Boys, which The Boys is really, really difficult to watch. Have you watched it, Annie?
I haven't watched it.
It is
Not yet.
Yeah, it is, and I love disturbing. I love torture. I just
Yeah,
started
I do
like
too.
watching some horror movies and catching up, and like some of them are really disturbing because it's been so
Yeah.
long since I've watched a horror movie. But this, yeah, basically the premise of the show is what would happen if Captain America were not the good person you see in the limelight? What would happen if Aquaman was kind of a douchebag? What would happen if Wonder Woman was an alcoholic and everybody in her life she scared away with her drinking? And it's basically what happens when other people find out who they are and want to expose them. But there's some scenes in it that are the lobster scene. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the dolphin scene and the lobster scene
Oh man,
with
It's
Chase
like-
Crawford.
it's crazy, and I'm all caught up with season 2 because I guess now they're releasing it every weekly, not just throwing it all out there. But
Oh, nice.
every episode of that show, like it's like really does something insane, and it like it feels earned. It doesn't feel like they're just being gratuitous just
Yes.
to do it. Like it feels earned, but it's like that show is like hard to watch. Like you'll end an episode and just be like, okay, it's enough TV. Like I'm just gonna sit down for a little bit. Like it's like it's a lot. It's a, but it's
That's
also
when you turn on Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
oh yeah, exactly. It's when you go to Schitt's Creek.
Rerun of the rerun of the rerun. Annie, have you ever seen the movie Martyrs?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Tom and I think are going to talk about that next month for Halloween. I know we're going to do Rosemary's Baby, his favorite movie, the Saw trilogy, because I could talk about that forever. And I think we're going to do Martyrs. It's a French movie. It has been remade, but
Oh, I love French cinema.
it's a French
so I gotta watch-
movie. I think it's like what Tom said. It's the whole entire movie is so graphic and disturbing, but at the end it's earned and it all makes sense. And like I think it should be like a reference for writers, anybody. It's just a fucking beautiful film. It's so disturbing, but in the last 2 minutes, everything comes full circle, and you just go like I had nightmares for weeks after this movie.
Wow.
I watched it with my mom and sister because like my mom raised us in horror. My sister would come home and bring home horror movies for us to watch, and like it was really graphic. But I think we need to talk about it because it is one of those movies where like the payoff makes it all kind of worth it.
All right, I gotta watch it now.
Martyrs, but watch the French version. Yeah.
Okay. Always the French version.
Yeah, I'm a person like I know this is terrible. I'm a person who's more seen the American remakes of movies before I've seen the originals.
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
love Old Boy. I love Let Me In. I haven't seen the originals yet, but I did watch the
Yeah.
American version, and like it's not script for script, it's not scene for scene, and like even that throws it off. Besides that, it's not the same.
Yeah.
What about you guys? TV shows, movies? What have you been up to?
I just started watching Jude Law's new show. Have you guys seen it? I think it's called The Third Day or Third Day.
Is he a priest?
No, that's the Young Pope.
Okay.
No, it is very interesting. It kind of has the same aesthetically. It's so beautifully done. Like it is so beautiful to watch, but it's very it's kind of along the lines of like Midsummer.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, right. And like that's kind of what the preview reminded me of, and then as we were watching it totally just kind of started going that way. But I highly recommend it. It's very good if you like disturbing things.
What
Is
is
this a
your
newer show?
Huh?
Is this a newer show? Like they got one season
Yeah,
out?
I don't even think like all of the episodes are out yet. Did I pull it up? I did. The Third Day.
What channel
Yeah,
is it on?
it's on HBO.
Okay, we have it. Out of all the
Yeah.
streaming. What did you guys think of Midsummer?
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was going into. I went in totally blind and high. So
Oh God! Oh no!
It's the best combo.
I saw it
like-
alone, so I was very sober. Yeah, I was like, I can't not see this in theaters. Wow, ballsy.
yeah, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. If I had known, I wouldn't have smoked a joint
Yes.
outside the theater.
Yep.
No, I didn't do
But
that.
the movie
Yeah,
was so
it's
long that
fictional.
your high eventually faded, and there was still half the movie to watch. That was one.
Yes.
That was one problem I had with it. Is the first 45 minutes didn't need to exist. Like
I don't know. I'm always like the opposite. Whenever people say that, I'm always the opposite. I don't mind like slow
yeah.
kind of dragging things,
I-
like that. I don't know.
I had some issues with. I loved Hereditary. Loved it.
No.
I think what happened, there's a few issues I have with Midsummer. One of them, I think I did what everybody did with Us, with Jordan Peele. Get Out was like the best movie of the last 10
Yes,
years.
that was good.
And then Us was also very good and original, but everybody
Yeah.
said it wasn't Get Out. I didn't like it, and everybody compared
Right.
it. I might have kind of done that to Hereditary, but I also think that like it was being sloganed as everybody's vomiting in theaters and passing out. It's the most disturbing movie ever made. There was one scene where the guy jumps off the rocks. And
Yeah.
that was the only
But
thing
it was
where
disturbing, Mikey. It was very disturbing.
like I went,
well,
I thought it was super.
it was graphic as hell.
It was super graphic. It was shocking too but what I loved so much about it was you were so involved in that whole story from her perspective.
Mhm.
that like you discovered everything with her, and it
Yes.
was, you were just as disturbed as she was, and then like at the end you're like, yeah, burn him.
Oh yeah.
In a bear. In a
Want to
bear.
burn.
That was like, I have a problem with the end, and then right after I'll say why I don't find it a problem. It was a little extreme what she did to her boyfriend and all of his friends. It was a little extreme, but I like the end because like as she's watching everything burn, she's like finally with the family she always wanted and needed. And like
Right.
after losing her whole family, she's like, this is my family now. This is where I
Right.
live. If I let anybody go, they would have come back, reported this, whatever. She now was with her family. That's her son.
Right. But also there was an element of survival too, because, you know, it's like, what are these people going to do to me? You know, so it was just, and that's what I loved so much about that, you know, that face shot of her. I love her, by the way. But that shot of her just watching the cabin or whatever it was burn inside was just like, you could see all of that, you know, all of that struggle, like she wanted that vengeance, but also like she didn't, because that's not really who we are as, like, that's how psychos think, you know?
That's a great point, is kind of like, if she had even shed a tear or tried to stop it, they would have thrown her in too. So, I mean, I think that's, and I mean, the brilliance of it too is it's one of those things Tom and I have talked about on the podcast. Something comes out and you go, why am I going to bother writing a movie or writing a song when something like that has been done? I'll never come close to that. It's like the first horror movie done completely in broad daylight. And there's not a lot of jump scenes in it, but it's still scary and tense. And
it's all so character driven.
Yes.
Like that's what's scary about it, is you don't know who to trust and not who's gonna do what, and you don't know their culture, you don't know all these rituals, so you're like, what the fuck are these people gonna do now?
Well, I think it's interesting too, is like in a lot of, I mean, you could say in a lot of slasher movies, but in a lot of horror movies, when you have a central group of characters, like you're right. Yeah. It's like generally they're the ones you can trust, like they're sticking together. But this time,
root for them.
Even they're all just like kind of bad people. Like they all have. They have their self-interest. They're there for school and just like, you know, they don't really care what kind of happens to their friends by the end. And even in the beginning, Florence, like she was like a tag along, like they didn't even want her to come in the first place. And she was kind of going more because of what happened, her family dying, and like, you know, and they were there because like, oh, we're going for school. We're going for important research. And like, you know, so it's like.
That part felt very random to me, where like as people are disappearing, like one, I love it because it is like a slasher where they're like, let me go tie my shoe, and the audience is like, don't leave, like oh yeah, they're gonna go get dropped off at the train station, the other couple. But I think the only part, one of the parts that felt random to me was they were like, I'm doing my thesis on their tribe. And then the other one's like, I'm doing my thesis on the tribe. And they're like, we can't both do our thesis eyes on the tribe. And then they all get murdered in a bear suit and a cap. And it's just like, that part felt very weird to me, that it was just kind of like.
The boyfriend was like, he stole the idea. You know, like his other friend went there with the idea. Like he told all of them, and he's like, "Nah, it's my thesis now." Like that was like, he was like, "Why are you doing this to me?"
You know what? Like that actually super unsettled me with that whole thesis thing, and I thought it was, I don't know, it's because he was the only reason why she was there.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he kind of villainized himself, just in that small kind of trivial way, compared to the rest of the movie, but like it just, even in that, I was like, oh, like, that's like, he's not your stable man anymore, you know? And like, what are you guys gonna do? Like now, and they don't want him around, and now you really shouldn't be around. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I love that movie. But speaking of like weird culty tribes, have you seen The Vow?
No, I don't think so.
Also on HBO, it's a docu-series. It's weird.
The Vow?
The Vow.
What's it about?
So it's about this, like, I don't even know how to describe it really. It's like this kind of it's kind of like Scientology. It's like a self-help kind of group that starts. It's kind of a corporation kind of deal, but it's very much like a, you know, you go in and you help yourself and go through all these kind of things, like meditation kind of things. And like the premise is like, yeah, okay, it's cool. You want to improve who you are. But then like people just get like so far down into it. And then like you find out that it's like a full on like sex cult and shit. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like every episode, your mind is blown afterwards. You're like, it's just amazing to me that like actual people, like smart, influential people got involved in this.
Right.
And I haven't like Googled it because I want this show to be a surprise to me, but
fair.
I'm not entirely sure that it's like
Over.
still going on. Like, yeah, like I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, you should watch it.
It's funny to me how there's like pyramid schemes where like you sell nutrition bars, and then there's pyramid schemes where you like start satanic sex cults and murder people. Like it's a very vast difference where like if I started a pyramid scheme selling like power bars and somebody called me out, I'd be like, at least it wasn't a sex cult where we murdered people. And they'd be like, all right, you only stole billions of dollars.
So, yeah, and it's so funny because it's like this dude who started it, like he's supposed to be such a like smart kind of academic type and everything, and his whole thing is like, well, what are you doing with your life? Like, well, you're doing art. Like this, these super cute little like successful actresses and musicians will come and he gets them involved, and he's like, well, you're doing art, and then he'll like spit out all this bullshit. He's like, so don't you really think that people who do art are people who just can't do? And his whole thing is like, being able to be like a better version of yourself, to do better and everything. But in the end, like they don't do shit. Like once they get involved in this thing and they're doing better, it's like they're not doing anything. They just like end up in this perpetual cycle of just not doing anything, but they're just sucked in, and it's crazy.
That's how they prey on people, is they prey on people at their weak moments. So like you take an actress who doesn't get an audition, and then you be like, hey, can I cheer you up? And they're like, that'd be nice. And then like the next month they're in a cult and they've separated from their parents. Their parents can never call them again. And like,
it's scary, man. Like I'll have to check that out because I'm very fascinated by cults. I know HBO, maybe like, I think it's like 6 years old now. Have you ever seen Going Clear? That one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a crazy movie. Like,
I knew it from the SNL parody.
Oh,
the parody they did?
Yeah, yep.
I don't even know if I watched, actually, because it's Scientology, that one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's basically
Tom, you gotta watch The Vow, because it's kind of along the lines of Going Clear. Like, that's what it reminds me of.
Nice.
Why are we so obsessed with this stuff as a culture?
I don't know. I did a movie about a cult. Like, it is so fun.
I just watched the new Alexandra Daddario movie. I gotta look up the name, but she's in a cult, and Johnny Knoxville plays her father, who's a priest.
Shut up! That sounds so good.
Look it up. It's very funny, and the cast of it is all like a bunch of actors that you know. It's really funny. She's good. She's good in horror. I mean, she's done. We Summon the Darkness.
Oh.
Brand new, super kitschy, super fun. Highly recommend it.
I'd love to watch that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about what we're really here for. So Annie is our first guest that has been in front of the camera pretty much. So Annie starred. This is your first feature and starring role. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah. My first feature and starring role.
12 Days of Christmas. So Tom and I both watched it. Feature movie, kind of a comedy, a little bit of drama thrown in there. It's about two people, Amy and Steve. They come home for their first winter break in college. Kind of grew up best friends, and then they hook up drunk one night. They wake up the next day, and Amy's pregnant, and it kind of follows what they're going to do about it, what they're going to do with their relationship, and just kind of everything else that goes on during that kind of holiday break. Which one of the things is I loved this from the start because we talked about it last time, reunion movies. The Five Bloods is a reunion movie. Grown-ups, 10 years. I love reunion movies. And even though like you go to college and you come back 3 months later, you're not that changed. You know, there's not really that much, you know, of like a family and all these things. And you haven't had a bunch of jobs that you lost and made bad investments. But I did like that part of it is everybody comes home and they're all just getting messed up together and having a good time. And then like a couple weeks in, they get real and vulnerable and really start talking about, you know, there's your character, for example, your character in it is like, I haven't really partied. I haven't really joined a sorority or made a lot of friends or drank or done anything because I haven't found myself yet. But when you first get back, everybody's asking you how it is. And you're like, it's the best. I love college. Go Rams or whatever. So I thought that was college my dad's a psychologist. And when I went to college, he said, people who are schizophrenic, it usually surfaces when they go to college because it's the first time you're in a different environment and that's what makes it surface. And then he went, hey, have fun in college.
Yeah.
Like that was his like, and I was like,
do what you will with that knowledge.
I was like, that was my anxiety started at that moment. But yeah, no, I think that college is such a different place for everybody. So yeah. What were your thoughts on the movie, Tom?
No, I liked it a lot, and that aspect you focused on where, you know, it was only like a 3-month period after the first semester, but it definitely made me like think back on my first semester coming back, because even though it is a short period of time, I think most people do change, and like it's your first time for most people away from home. I commuted throughout college, but still, just like it's a lot different than high school. So like I think like that premise of the movie alone, where you have all these different characters. Amy, Steve, of course, but then you have Connor, I believe, right? His friend, who like he has his own thing going where like most people in town view him as kind of the asshole. He's like the trickster, but he feels differently about that, and how now that he has a whole new group of friends away in college, like he's viewed differently by them. So like I liked all that about it too. And then obviously you have kind of the bigger kind of meatier section of the movie which is about Amy getting an abortion, obviously, which is this thing where obviously both her and Steve have, you know, it shows that they've been friends for a long time, all throughout high school. So right after that, then it kind of creates this tricky scenario where they're viewing each other differently for the first time, where all these different ideas about their friendship are coming out for the first time, and that's something I appreciated a lot for sure. And I guess to lead into a question is, I guess how do you prepare for this role? Because I think like there's a lot to navigate, it seems like, and especially with all the scenes with Steve, especially at the end, which I thought were pretty fantastic. Like what was the prep like for that, or even like working with that actor as well?
Yeah, it's funny because like I didn't go to college.
Okay.
So but so the whole, I guess, you know, college part was all kind of, I don't know why it was so easy to navigate. It wasn't easy in the sense that like, you know, it was easy emotionally. I just think that like I immediately knew what I could use to, you know, relate to this character and to all the characters around me, I guess. But yeah, you know, that relationship to Steve in the movie is so heart-wrenching to me, because it's like we've all had that best friend, and that you have for a long time. There's nothing like that best friend who's known you for years, you know? I mean, and no matter what happens in your life and how many friends you gain who might be better suited friends for you, there is just nothing like that person who knows who you have been throughout your life and all the different people you have been. So when we did get into the abortion stuff, I really just thought about how it's like you could really make any decision, any major decision, and not having that person's full support is devastating, you know, and having to navigate that in itself. But Drew, the actor who played Steve, was great to work with. I mean, it was so funny because we actually like happened to be reading the same book when we were auditioning. Yeah, we were both reading The Stand by Stephen King. Yeah, which is not like it's not like light reading, right? Like we both just like pull out this giant book.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you too? But we had a lot of rehearsal process because we only had, I think it was only 14 days to shoot.
Oh, wow.
Which is like nothing. So there was a lot of rehearsing. Not every scene, but like just enough of the movie, like the roof scene where he's putting up the Christmas lights, and the abortion clinic scenes and stuff. Like all of that was rehearsed quite a bit beforehand, because when you only have 14 days to shoot, you don't have a lot of time to like figure things out on set.
Yeah.
And plus we just wanted to make sure that we had chemistry also before, rolling the camera.
Those are also kind of the serious, meaty parts of the movie where you want to make sure you get those correct. I mean, the party scene is a party scene, but those are kind of the parts where you want to make sure you get them, because that kind of ties everything together.
Totally. Yeah, and we auditioned with the car scene.
Oh,
where
cool.
he's driving me or picks me up from the train station. So we auditioned with that, and we kind of just, like, it just came so easy to both of us that the director was like, I don't really think we need to revisit this, and, we'll just trusted us to do our thing on that day.
Was that the opening scene of the movie?
No.
Okay.
That scene, actually, we did not rehearse, and that was the scene I was most nervous about.
It was hilarious. Okay. It was, the movie, it opens very Superbad. Like, I love Superbad, Sex Drive, all those kinds of movies where it's like the fake ID, how we gonna do this. It's so relatable.
Yeah. It wasn't originally the opening scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think him picking me up from the train station was the opening scene. So that was kind of like towards the, middle of the movie.
Yeah.
But I was so nervous about that scene because of all the different like characters I had to play and everything.
Yeah.
And so when into the bank robber, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to channel Ryan Gosling in Place Beyond the Pines when he's robbing the bank and gets that like super like crazy high voice. We'll see how this goes. And like no one on set laughed at all.
Oh,
like
no.
No one laughed. And so the whole time I was just, and it was super early in the morning, and I was just like, all right, Andrea, just stick to it. Like,
oh no,
keep going.
But
it was really fun. Yeah.
If they ever make like a spin-off of M. Night Shyamalan's Split, where it's like his sister also has 28 personalities, if you just send them that scene, you will be cast in that movie. That was a roller coaster. You played a lot of characters.
It was so much fun. It was so
Was
fun.
it all scripted?
I had a donut hiding in my lap half of that scene too. I was like so hungry for donuts on set.
That's gonna be the best part of working on a movie, is the craft service table.
Oh.
Yeah, nothing can beat it. So
I love craft.
Like especially that scene. How much of the movie was scripted versus improvised?
All of it.
It was all scripted?
Yeah. There was very little that was improvised just because of our time restraints. Yeah. So there were some times that, we would get it, in a couple of takes, and then, Michael would just say, okay, do whatever you feel is best. But Michael actually reminded me during a Q&A not too long ago that I would come to him with rewrites.
Oh, okay.
So like,
I respect it.
I mean, there were just certain like monologues I had where I would come like day of and I'd be like, and he reminded me that on our biggest shooting day, which was the party scene, because we had so many different scenes to shoot that night.
So many extras too.
So many extras. And like we had a camera rolling B footage like on all of the montage stuff. At the same time, we were shooting other scenes in like other rooms or, out back by the pool and everything. And I like came to him that day and I had like rewritten some of my dialogue with Rachel up in the bedroom when I like, divulge everything to her. Yep. And he was just like, I guess, yeah, okay, whatever. I trust you. Just do it.
I think that's awesome. I think that's ballsy and respect.
Yeah. And like, look, like I'm a woman.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Like, I'm thinking about what like I would say and everything. And he's a man who wrote it, and it's always great when you have directors who are willing to collaborate with you.
Oh yeah.
Because there are so many that are just so staunch and like stuck in their, writing and this and that. And it's like, no, it's my way or the highway. And that's just not fun
Like
to work with.
you said and you didn't say also. Like you have to stick to the script. That stuff always throws me off where it's like so meticulous. I mean, you got to leave them room to like get into it. I mean, I mean, like with it, since you only had 14 days between auditioning and shooting, how much time was there? I mean, was there any, I remember Dean DeHaan and Shia LaBeouf when they did, forget the name of the movie. They do,
yeah, what is that movie? I forget.
They drink moonshine in it or something like that. So they went.
Lawless?
Yes.
I love Lawless.
So they wound up driving from like South Carolina to LA or vice versa to get to know each other and prepare for the role. And I think they did like LSD or something because it was relatable to moonshine. And they did that to like bond and get to know each other for the movie. Between rehearsals, auditioning, first day of shooting, did you have any time to like get to know your castmates? Were you thrown right in to just start acting with them?
I think from the time that I was cast, so when I was cast, I totally like went about the auditioning process the wrong, like what they would call the wrong way, by the way, because I opened my casting, breakdowns that day. And I remember at the time, like, I was kind of over it. Like, you see so much, like, bad shit on the breakdowns all the time. And it's always, like, student film, like, exposure, and it's just, there's so much bad stuff. But I remember I opened it and I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool movie. And I really want to do a feature. And so I wrote them I actually submitted to the friends, like, to the friend roles.
Oh, cool.
As well as Amy. Because I thought, I could play any of them, really. And so I submitted to them, and I kind of missed the first audition because I don't know. I think I was working or I wasn't available. So I just wrote them a note, and I was like, I really want to audition for this, and I think that I would do well, and let me know if I can come to callbacks. And they brought me into callbacks. And then, so that's where I met Drew. Mm-hmm. And then I think they had one more audition process with Drew and me, and then we started doing chemistry reads with my friends, which was really fun because I met a lot of like really fun actors, in that process. But from the time I was cast to the time we shot, I think maybe we had a month or 3 weeks. So we kind of jumped into the rehearsal process pretty quickly. And mind you, the director, the producer, and pretty much everybody on set except for the DP and a couple other people were all USC students going through finals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they were like you're already dead on set, right? Like you're like sleep deprived and everything. And these poor people were not only sleep deprived because they were making a movie, but also because they were like going through finals week, It was crazy.
And that's cast too, or just the crew?
No, just the crew.
The crew, yeah.
Yeah. So the cast was primarily, I don't know about some of the cast, actually. I'm the worst.
So did the director know Drew or anybody?
No, he didn't know either of us.
It was just this, and how did you wind up getting the notice about this? Was this through a casting website, through an agent? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Actors Access is the website that I found the breakdown through. And then I got the notice through the website as well that, we like you, would love for you to come back for, chemistry reads or whatever. So yeah, it was good. It was fun. And, it's like, I always get my own roles, like my agent, manager. I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm going to film.
You're like, I represent myself.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood but me. I am my own boss.
Yeah, but it was fun. I had time to get to know Drew in the rehearsal process. We had some rehearsals with the girls too, so I got to get to know them a little bit, which was kind of fun because like Rachel, Katie, who played Rachel, was very much kind of like Rachel.
Perfect.
A little bit, more like straight edge than I and the girl who plays Court are. Yep. So, it was fun to get to know everybody, but I definitely got to know Drew a little bit. but it was weird because Drew and I just kind of clicked from the beginning. Like,
That's nice. You could tell too.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching it, you can tell. So that's why I'm
Yeah,
curious about, did you go to Montana for 3 weeks to get to know each
yeah,
other?
no, it
Yeah.
was, yeah. I mean, it's funny because I've met my favorite people on set because of literature. Like, I've connected with them not because of film, but because of books and short stories and stuff. And the fact that Drew was reading the same book was just sort of, I was like, oh yeah, cool, I like this guy, But we didn't have. It was funny though. We were so kind of antisocial in the casting area. I remember it was like, oh hey.
I have an official challenge for you. Next movie set you're on, bring the most random book ever and see if your counterpart, bring the unofficial abridged version of BB Mac. Remember them? Bring that, and then just if your co-host has it, you have to be like, all right, there's something going on here. I don't know if they saw me reading it the first day and went out and bought it, but there's no way that this could possibly be this way.
That's so funny.
That's interesting, but that's a cool way to connect. I mean, that's how people do with coworkers. That's how people do it with everybody.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of find one thing that you have in common, and then it's never awkward after that.
Yeah, totally.
I gotta say, the pregnancy test scene, my wife is due next month. When she found out she was pregnant, there was 5 or 6 pregnancy tests. So it's even in the trailer. That was the first thing that got me on board with the movie. Is you put down one
so
pregnancy test, and then he's like, "Are you sure?" And then you pull out a bag, and there's 5 more pregnancy tests.
Pretty sure.
That is just real and true, and that's how it works. Nobody
Yeah.
takes one pregnancy test and goes, "I'm not pregnant,"
No.
or "I'm pregnant." It's keep peeing. We are gonna make sure, one way or another. So I mean, I like
Keep
that.
peeing.
It was
Keep peeing.
yeah.
Go get a blood test.
Yeah.
Keep
Drink some
peeing.
more water. Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was part of the movie that just was relatable. Where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
whoever wrote this, he knows what this is like. Yeah. Yeah. And Lord Voldemort, which you called the abortion, which you referenced
Yes.
in the movie, that was also scripted.
Yeah, that was scripted.
Does the director, his name is Michael, right? Michael Boyle.
Yes.
Is he a Harry
Yes.
Potter fan? Was that just
No, I think it was just the idea of just not wanting to use the word.
Yeah.
And you call, and it's funny because I've always kind of used that in my life because I am a Harry Potter fan that I've have just been oh, the Lord Voldemort or Lord Voldemort. We'll just call him that. Your ex is no longer Brian. It's Lord Voldemort. Or whatever.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that, there's a lot of little jokes and funny things that we've all done about something. Whether you call the ex Lord Voldemort or something else, Satan.
Right.
There's so much to it that was
Yeah.
very relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something else I loved about it too is, 30 minutes into the movie, you get to Christmas Eve. So you're kind of all right, there's an hour left. It's the 12 days of Christmas. And then you catch on that it's not like how ABC Family and Freeform does it from the 13th to the 25th. The 12 days of Christmas lead up to January 6th in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their 12 days of Christmas are the important days where they're together, where they're trying to figure it out. I thought that was really smart and kind of subtle, and you kind of pick up on that in the movie. And
Yeah.
a lot of it is very simple and smart. When there's the party scene, they're playing the 12 Days of Christmas, and it's the 3 blah blah blah, and there's 3 people passed out, and everything is set to something. I mean, it's very I guess just direct, and I like that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do like how that's you're right. It's their 12 days during break, and also obviously it's a classic Christmas song, and then one of the first scenes is you both bonding and singing Christmas songs, and then that's kind of how it ends too.
Yep.
Some
Yeah.
rekindling of the friendship that they once had. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
The guy playing
Yeah.
beer pong. Tom and I always talk about what would a prequel, a sequel, a spinoff be. I don't know why. Captivated by that guy's performance. I think because he was
I love that. That is probably one of my favorites.
So it's not just me that noticed that.
I love that guy. You know what? Some of the extra, the woman who was in the hallway on the phone
Crying.
during that scene too, crying. She was so good, you guys.
Every party has a
Michael
woman
actually
crying.
Oh my god, Michael sent her footage because she improv'd all of it, and like everything that she said, she was so good on the phone. It was so good. But some of those extras were just, they killed me. They're so funny.
The Pong player, he was so dedicated. He was
He
so,
was so good.
I don't think he was
He's
playing
so
with anybody.
Spot on to like that frat boy,
Yes.
you know?
He's like, this game, I don't want to connect with anybody, not until I lose. I don't care about women right now.
My life is right
I
here.
will run this table until the cops come or until tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And he was just so dedicated. I don't even think he had a team. I don't think he was playing it. He was just so dedicated and into it. And I just loved his. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I wanna
just
know his
love every
backstory.
time it like goes back to him.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I need to know his backstory. I need to know what his first semester was like. Although I feel like he's one of those like 30-year-olds who's like still at the the parties. He's like still trying to live that kind of college day. Yeah, I think so. I was gonna ask, of course, like party scenes. Are all those cups empty? Is there water in them? What is in them?
No. There were, water, juice, I was hoping for something else, but
Going real method.
no, it's mostly just water.
There are so many
Yeah.
party scenes in movies and TV shows where people have red Solo cups and you can tell there's nothing in them. Like the prop people,
Oh, I know.
and people
I
are
know.
just like at the
Drives
party
me
and they're just like, and,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're talking,
Yeah,
and, like, they're
and they're-
flipping their cup around.
and
Yeah.
you can tell that there's and
Well-
like, so that's why I'm always curious about what it is actually like on set. Because if I were there, I don't care if I was the editor, I'd be like, just put water in the cups, make it look, because everybody
Yeah,
can't,
no, there is water in it.
everybody can't
Yeah.
act like they have
Yeah.
a full
Well-
cup when it's empty.
I wonder if other like shows or movies don't put liquid in it because they're filming in someone else's house. Maybe they're like really like, oh, we can't spill anything. Because like, why would you not at least put water in it? You know, like
Yeah.
it seems that seems obvious. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's just nothing that drives me more insane than acting, like taking a sip and not having to swallow my drink
yes.
like I'm supposed to.
Right.
It's just like so unrealistic. I hate it.
I don't like watching
Yeah.
people eat in movies because I feel like that they all do it the same exact.
I love watching people
You do?
eat in movies.
There's probably, I mean, there's probably
Yes,
websites for
okay,
that.
this is so random, Mikey, but one of my favorite things, blue is the warmest color.
What is that?
Oh, good movie. Good
Have
movie.
you seen it?
No.
It's a French movie. So, you know how she eats the bolognese? Like,
Yes.
the way she eats, she, like, she's eating it, and I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, I remember watching that movie, and, like, everyone was talking about, like, their sex scene and stuff, and I was like, did you see the way she ate?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the way she ate.
Yeah. I don't care about that 15-minute sex scene. I just want to watch you eat bolognese.
Yeah.
That's what you
Like
study.
the bolognese.
Wow. So,
Well, another funny thing is like because I've been around and on so many film sets the past 2 years, like there's been times that I've been really close to the filming site. And I remember last year I was on some TV show and it was at a diner, so they made like probably like 200 plates of pancakes,
that's so
and it's
cool.
like I
yeah.
haven't seen that episode yet, but I just want to go and be like, I saw those pancakes that day, like, and like I don't know, it's just funny that like they just got to keep making the same thing over and over again, and like I wonder. Again, it's probably different for different scenes, but how many times, like how much food, like an actor has to eat in certain scenes, like it's.
Is that in credits? Pancake artist? Like the very last thing in the
Probably, yeah.
credits is like diner cook. Yeah. I think I feel like
Oh my God.
I feel like people take an acting school where they teach you how to eat, where like in every movie they cut it and then they hold out their fork and then they go, yeah, I just you know where I was last night. Yeah, I was there with the guy. And then they take the bite. And just nobody eats like that in real life. Like they're like pondering and using their food and I'm just like, what acting school has taught every actor that this is how you eat food in movies?
Yeah. You know what? I got ripped apart in my acting class one time because I was in a scene where we were supposed to eat, and in the acting class that I take, like you set up your, like when you present your scene, you really present it like you're putting on a theater production kind of. And so if you're eating, you have to provide the food. And so I would kind of take a forkful of my salad, but I'd be, talking. Sorry about the dog.
Oh, you're good.
good.
But I'd be talking and I like forgot to eat. And she was like, so are you just going to go over to someone's house and not eat? And from that day forward, it was like, no, you got to eat. Like, you got to channel that blue is the warmest color bolognese. Like, you got to eat.
That's like, you've studied that. You could write a whole movie. Like, there's books of like philosophy of South Park. You could write a book on like cheeseburgers seen in different movies and like how Ryan Reynolds eats versus Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, one of my favorite things, it's more or less in like older sitcoms, like especially Full House, where like Danny will make like this gigantic breakfast, and then they come downstairs and like, oh, the bus is here, and it's like nobody eats anything. It's like, dude, like you probably just spent like 2 hours making all this. Like,
yes, the amount of starving kids there are in the world. But the Full House people are just making food and then throwing it right out. It's so interesting. On The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, they're not allowed to eat the food because it interferes with like the mic and their makeup. So like they get these huge plates put in front of them. They start to cut, they talk, and then it shows them later on going back to their hotel, and then they get room service. Like it's literally like, here's
I would not be following those rules.
They're occasionally on the behind the scenes, like at the end of each season, they'll do bloopers. And I think Colton was one of them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the season, you see them and they're just like eating it. As soon as the cameras stop rolling, they're like, I'm not letting this go to waste. Like, I don't want to eat like,
that's so funny.
Yeah, the hotel doesn't have a 3-course meal. They're like, hey, Emerald Lagasse is coming out and cooking for you, but you can't eat it. You have to go back and eat at the hotel after this.
Interesting. I never knew
so
that.
So bad.
Yeah, I know too much Bachelor knowledge.
That's awful.
But yeah, I think that's those party scenes always get to me. I love it in Practical Jokers. This is actually super smart, and I'm sure some movies do this too. They put microphones in coffee cups, and then they'll walk around, and when they talk to somebody, it's their way of being sneaky and recording, and then somebody's filming from far away, they can get the audio because it's all in their coffee cup. And there are times in the show where Joe will just be swinging an empty cup around like this, just to like prove that there's nothing in the cup, and it's only for audio purposes. He'll like turn it over like this and empty it out. But yeah,
that's
I mean,
funny.
I remember doing some
I always forget, it's like how many sets have I been on it, and I always forget about the mic. Like I'll get, go through makeup and wardrobe and everything, and then it's like the sound guy walks up and it's like, all right, so we're gonna put your mic on, and so we gotta find out where to hide the mic, and I'm always like, oh right, that's such a thing. And it's so weird because you're wearing this dress and it's like, the mic is stuck up on your back or like in between your legs or something, and it's like you're walking around, so you gotta bring a huge mic pack on you. I don't know when they're gonna create like just kind of an invisible mic or like something so minimal that it doesn't really matter, but they're just always so intrusive.
Like a chameleon.
But I've actually been on
a chameleon mic, like take the kind of they've probably done that with like tanks and army vehicles, made them blend in.
I mean, I'm sure. Here's my dog.
But also like, I mean, hi bud.
Hey, buddy.
This is our other guest. What's the dog's name?
Coda.
Hi, Coda.
There you go.
I know a few dogs named Coda.
Oh. There you go.
Oh, that is
very original.
Cute. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I can literally put a microphone in a pen and go and record things, and then have a Bluetooth in my ear that nobody can see, but a microphone pack is still like the size of a brick and gets put around your belt loop. And like, that's the other thing on reality shows. You see, I mean, okay, who is it? Steve-O. Steve-O did all of these things on drugs, never got too badly injured, I don't think, even stapling his nutsack to his leg. He went on Dancing with the Stars, did a backflip, and landed on his mic box and like broke his tailbone. And he literally told America, I've done all of this stuff and nothing. I've jumped off bridges. I go on a dance show and I do a backflip, and now I like, that is crazy to me.
The mic pack did him in.
That is. But yeah, that's interesting to know about those scenes, and all the extras too. The girl crying on the phone. That's at every party. The beer pong guy at every party. And I liked it too. Like, there are people smoking weed at the party. I've been to plenty of parties where people like, I don't drink, I only smoke, or they don't smoke, they only drink. Like, all of those people exist, the tropes at all the kinds of parties. So it's relatable. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like awkward. It didn't feel like I like the way that you watch people eat in movies. I watch extras that way. I watch extras. I study them in movies because I always think if I were a director, like I would be like, all right, we have to reshoot the whole scene. If one extra in the back, like,
but you do have to reshoot. Like a lot of times you do, and it's such a friggin' hassle.
Because one extra, like, itched his eye and it threw off the lighting, or did something,
or they're just staring into the camera from the back.
And it's like SNL. SNL is a big show to watch the extras because you have professionally trained comedians and actors, and then you have like people that are just paid to sit in the back of like a court scene, and they're awful. And I love to study extras because like I think that would be a cool thing to pull together is TV shows and movies where you see like the worst extras ever, where like you go back and you interview.
Have you ever? Yeah, Mikey, you should be an extra on a film just for fun.
Just But then I would watch it and critique myself so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's such an experience, and like,
oh yeah,
some of those people are very particular types of people that you meet, and they are always extras.
I could do it here. I remember signing up back in the day. I auditioned for a scene in Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James because so many.
Really?
Yeah, it was a very small role of one of the students. This years ago. Every Adam Sandler movie films here. So like, if you want, I have a friend who's an extra. I have a couple friends who are extras in here in New York, and one of them will be like, "Here's me on Law and Order," and then like he circles himself in the back of the scene. And I think we need to write a movie about an extra.
I think you're just the person to do it.
I'm gonna call it Extra Extra. Read all about it. It'll be like an extra in the movie Newsies. We can make like a mockumentary about it. I don't know. I just think like this was a theory for so long and it's been disproven. But The Wizard of Oz, the original, there's a scene where somebody is swinging. And the old theory was that a little person got cut from the movie and he hung himself from the set. And it was just a theory, kind of like the ghost in Three Men and a Baby. But it's one of those things where the movie came out, you can own it, you can see something like that in it. That is how I feel about extras, where like, and you think about like you film a scene, it can cost $10,000, $50,000 to film it, and then you have to reset everything up again. And I think being an extra would be super interesting. People made a career off of that. I mean,
oh, totally. I know people who have made a very good career off of it.
I'm very boring looking, so like I'm not gonna get pulled up to be like, hey, we're gonna give you a line.
Well, that's probably what they. I mean, there's that famous extra, right? Who's in like he's like all these huge movies. That redhead. I don't know what his name is, but he's in like 500 movies.
Really?
It's insane. Yeah, and he's always just like right there, and like it's funny. But it's funny. Something I've noticed is like, especially with like, again, like this party scene, you have like 30 plus extras. I remember last year during the summer, I was supervising on a Netflix show in a mall. So they had like 40, 50 extras, which is unrealistic because nobody goes to malls anymore. But like that's besides the point.
Sure,
when you're watching that many people do something, because you're not looking through the monitor, it's like, oh, like this is going to look so fake. But it's funny just looking at it from a different side, not through the camera. So it's unique.
Yeah. I was in an extra on a Semi-Pro, the Will Smith and
Will Ferrell.
Will Smith. Sorry, Will Ferrell. Wow, you guys had the worst actress on here who knows no names. Anyway, I'm also it's been a long week.
It's very funny when I talk to people in the business and I'm like, oh, what was this like? And they're like, I don't know. I just show up and do my thing.
Seriously, like honestly, like you brought it like when I did my first Q&A for this film, I was like, I hope I remember everything because we shot this in 2017 and the beginning of 2018, and then like I think a year ago we had the premiere.
Cool.
And then,
it has a September 2020 release on IMDb. So I'm guessing that's because you mentioned it recently got accepted into a festival, right?
Yeah. So it was accepted into CineQuest.
Okay.
and COVID hit, and we were going to go because Steve's feature film got into Cinequest as well. And so we were going to go because it was a premiere of both of our features. Cool. And then we decided not to because that was like ground zero in California at the time. Yeah. So we didn't go. So now it's like virtual, I think, next month or end of this month.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. End of this month, I think.
Is there still going to be like a Q&A and virtual, all that?
Yeah. I think there's going to be like a red carpet and everything. It's just all virtual and stuff. And then it got into another film festival, Dances with Films.
Okay.
That just happened, and I did the Q&A for that and stuff. So it was fun. But yeah. But I was in an extra and semi-pro, and in the games, like in all of the basketball games, and there were literally like maybe 150 people to fill up that entire stadium. So what they would do is they would just fill up like a little tier and shoot, and then they'd be like, okay, everybody move this way, And I watched the movie and I'm like, damn, that's a full stadium.
Can you see yourself in it?
I don't think so. I don't know. I've never looked.
I'll go.
I do things that like I don't want to look.
Because you would critique yourself and be like, I need to call up Adam McKay.
I'll watch a film that I'm in like once, and then I'll never watch it again.
Excuse me. I am.
Bless you.
Thank you. I like to write and direct, and I act in all my own stuff because, like, when you write stuff, you feel like you're the only one who can do it, and you want to do it the right way. Yeah. But like, and I edit. I am not a good editor. I wouldn't even say I can edit, but I hate editing because I hate having to listen to myself. And like, when you're editing things, you learn to hate them. When you like rewatch things and all of that. So, I would have. I think if you said you loved watching yourself, that would be very different. Like, I think everybody probably hates watching themselves. And then like, you hear somebody's like, I watch myself in this movie every day. You're like, meh, maybe you should see somebody about that. Like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. If it's something that like I've written and directed or I have to edit it and see myself, there's kind of like, I can disconnect at that point and like get the job done and be like, and critique myself, but for the better, and do it again or whatever. But if it's like a film that I have done, I enjoy the process, and then I'm like, all right, I'm out.
Well, I mean,
I don't want
to. What was the date between you wrapping the movie and then seeing it? How long out was that?
It was a few months. I think it was maybe 6 months. I can't really remember. I remember it was pretty quick, I think. But I remember the director knew that I didn't want to watch myself for the first time with other people. So he sent me a private link.
Really?
So that I could watch it before, they screened it. But they actually ended up screening it in 2019. Okay. So there was a good chunk of time between, doing it and then sitting in a theater with a bunch of people watching it.
And how did you feel? How do you feel watching it?
You know what? It was better because when there's a lot of time in between the two, I kind of forget, and it's like I'm not as hard on myself. But
that's nice.
There were still some things where I'm like, I don't like it.
Right.
An hour and a half is very different than making a 10-minute short. Like, it's very different because you have a lot more room to make a mistake or critique yourself or something over an hour and a half. I mean,
yeah. It's also a film with a title and a sort of this notion that my hand is being eaten by a dog. It's fine. 12 Days of Christmas sounds like, a Hallmark family film. And I have a lot of very conservative clients who know about my film career, but they haven't seen anything I'm in. And like, let us know when your Christmas movie is out. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I just have never said anything.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, it's about abortion and you don't like that.
You're like, it's on Hallmark. I promise you'll catch it this year.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up because that scene when you're in the clinic with the older couple, like immediately I was like, dude, anyone that's slightly pro-life is gonna absolutely hate this, because it was fun.
It's our fourth.
Yeah, it's our fourth. It's a funny moment. I'm like, people, certain people would take that the wrong way so hard. It's
Why didn't he get his tube tied? I just thought of that. Like, at the end of the movie, you're in the abortion clinic, and the guy's like, "Yeah, this is our fourth," and then she's like,
because that's our society."
That is true. Yeah, they're like, we have sex all the time, but we never want to have kids, and it's like, oh, if this is your fourth time, maybe it, I don't know, get snipped or something. I don't know.
Right? I mean, maybe their thing was like, we're heading towards menopause, so it can't happen, after that.
Yep, we're almost there. I think too, like, weird juxtaposition. Martyrs does not have one funny scene in the whole entire movie. It's so disturbing, and then it ends and comes full circle. I love Eli Roth and his movies because his movies are so disturbing that he adds in humor. In Hostel 2, somebody gets decapitated and then kids are playing soccer with the heads. Like Green Inferno has a lot of laughs in it. I think that, like, you seen Green Inferno?
Yeah.
That could be a whole episode. But I think what's super interesting with the scene in the abortion clinic is, and maybe this is what the director and writer thought, is like he had to add humor into it because the movie is a comedy. That scene's not like that heavy, but it's also heavy. Yeah. It's gonna hit home for some people. He couldn't just have like you sitting there tapping your feet and then have like the nurse call your name, and it has to be some humor. It had to ease you up a little bit more, and the audience too, which I like that part of it a lot. I mean, at first it kind of seems like overly funny, but then you're like, oh, it's kind of like a safety net. It's kind of like to help your character and the audience a little bit more into it.
Yeah,
I thought that was good.
Sorry, I'm like being it's like, can you leave me alone?
I think our poster for this movie or for this episode is just going to be the dog.
Yeah.
I think it should,
but attacking your arm.
That's like our new mascot. Yeah. I like that.
Like, can you imagine? Oh my God, it's just, go away.
It's a cute dog. So I
mean, he's adorable. He's adorable.
You
can't get anything done with him around.
Every dog is adorable. Right. What other questions do we have? I think so. So this movie is filmed 2017, obviously way before COVID and all of that. What is being an actress like right now during COVID? What is the kind of is it more obviously it's more filming stuff and sending it in, but are there productions happening?
Yeah, I know that there are productions happening. I haven't been auditioning. I actually have a funny story. So my manager is super old. He's like the epitome of the old Hollywood manager, super politically incorrect. His name is Marv. Like, you can't find a better name for a manager.
Is it like Estelle in Friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I signed with an agent. I've been trying to sign with this agency for years, and they've always turned me down. And right before COVID in December, I signed with them, and I was super excited. And then the guy who owns the agency, who turned me down, or who is head of the agency, who turned me down for so many times, watched this movie. And he calls my manager and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I turned her down so many times. I'm so stupid. Like, this is so dumb. I wish that I had, taken her and everything." Totally didn't know that he represents me.
Wow.
I'm like, well, that's a compliment, I guess, to get your agent calling to like ask for me, but you already represent me. So
backhanded compliment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like such a friggin' Hollywood thing to do. So funny. No, it's weird right now. I know that there are productions going on, but I haven't been doing anything. I don't really feel like everybody's going by the book necessarily. Yeah. And I don't really know how things are going. I don't know. It's weird. But I'm also very picky. Like, I haven't been, I don't submit all the time, and I don't audition all the time like a lot of actors do. Like, if I don't like it, I say no. Like, my manager we've gotten in so many fights throughout the years. I can't believe he still kept me. I say no all the time. He'll be like, "That was a great role, blah, blah, blah. You're going to fly to New Zealand next week." And I'm like, "What is it?" And he'll tell me, and I'm like, "No." Yeah. I'm like, he can't put a price point on things for me. I just can't like
Artist
like
integrity.
morally a lot of like I'm not in it to make money,
Yeah.
and I haven't made money.
Yeah.
Because of that, I'm sure I'd be much farther along in my career if I did accept roles, but then I would be pigeonholed also into something that I don't want to play. So
Yeah.
Right.
I've just been very careful about the choices I've made, and I've been told that they've been wrong.
Wow.
But from my I don't know, I've really enjoyed everything that I've done so far, and it's taken me a long time to be able to do what I've been doing, so I don't know.
No, I think that's.
But yeah, so I'm not really sure. I see people on sets, but I know they're getting COVID tests like all the time.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
And
I will say this
Yeah.
because I've been actively doing security. Because I went like 4 months without getting any work. So these past 2 weeks have been busy because there's so many productions starting back up now. And
Yeah.
it's different. Some productions are a lot more strict. They're like, you got to get tested 3 times a week. You can only you can only be in zone A. You can only be in zone B. Like these people have to wear face shields. So like some productions are really on top of it. Some of them not quite. Some of them people aren't even wearing masks, and I'm not sure how they're getting away with that because I know all sets have like safety officers on now.
Yeah.
So.
The light. Sorry, I'm trying to
now-
tell Steve to turn the light on because the sun went down.
It is now
Sorry.
officially nighttime in California.
It is nighttime.
We are 3 hours apart. When I was in California, like I wasn't, I was like only an hour before California, and now I feel so. Tom's gonna be in Vegas soon. I'm gonna fall asleep on our future podcasts.
All right, yeah.
So
That's so funny.
So you said that you like to write. You said that you have written, directed, edited your own kind of stuff. What is that more just kind of very side stuff? Like, is acting the main thing you want to do? Do you want to make your way into directing?
I think eventually I would like to get more into directing and writing, because I think that when you do act, you realize how little control you have over what you're doing. Because I've been on sets where it's like everything relies on the directing and the writing and and the editing and stuff, and it's like if you don't have a good script, you're not gonna have a good performance. And I think, but the more that I am involved in the industry and the more movies I watch and the more scripts I read more and everything, and I realize that I do have a vision, and I think that I could do something along those lines. I just haven't yet.
Yeah.
I have written a bit, but I haven't like shared anything with people, and I write all the time.
Yeah.
But more I write more like novel narrative form.
Which I think, I started doing stand-up comedy, and then I was like, I want to be a screenplay writer, and then I was like, stand-up is such a great route. I mean, Nick Swardson, all these people who are stand-up comedians, they get one special, and then they say, hey, can you act? Can you write? Like, I started thinking about that too recently, is like, I would love to be the next Eli Roth. I'd love to be the next horror director. It's very hard these days to write a script and have it get picked up by Blumhouse. But I was like, what if I just wrote a couple short stories, self-published on Amazon, couple people bought it, and then Hollywood sees one short story. I mean, Brokeback Mountain was based off of a short story that was a page and a half in a magazine, and it got nominated for a bunch of Oscars. I mean, there's so many different routes to go. I had somebody tell me years ago, make a trailer. If you want to make a movie, write it, but make a 2-minute trailer on your own and upload it. And somebody might say, we will give you $500,000 for that screenplay now that we saw this.
Yeah, totally. Also, if you have, the thing is that a lot of the people who have the power to make things happen in Hollywood are not necessarily creative, so they have no imagination. I mean, like, I've been told that, like, oh, it'll be a big role that I've auditioned for, and it's like, gosh, and it's down to the two actors, and it's like, man, she's so good, but we're just not going to hire the blonde. And it's like, I can dye my hair, obviously, I mean, it's like, it's just like, oh man, I don't know, she just looks a little too young, and it's like, throw some more mascara on me. It's just like, there's no creativity and imagination there in the office of Hollywood. So when you do want something to be picked up, the more you do to the point where it's like you have no choice, but here it is, you know, like here's the music, here are the visuals, like here's the whole thing. It's like, wow, the less work we have to do, the better, you know, I mean, let's do it. So
I've
a great idea.
I've heard them say like, oh, you kind of look too much like the character, or like you were kind of too good in the role and I want the character to be more loose. And it's like, I feel like you can't win. And it's like, I mean, I work in recruiting and I work with hiring managers that are very similar, where it's like, I think that they have too many of their requirements we're looking for. I'd rather get somebody with less, and then we can at least train them on some things, and they don't come in hitting the ground running, trying to run everything. And you're like, so you don't want the perfect? Yeah, I mean, you can't win. And I think, I mean, Greta Gerwig, I think, is such an impressive person because she wasn't getting cast into anything. And then she wrote a couple screenplays, she sold them, and they were like, cool. And she's like, I want to act in them. And now she's directing and she's Oscar nominated. And I mean, that's such a cool route too to go down, is just like, you know what, I'm going to do it this way. Bo Burnham, he was writing a movie for Judd Apatow, and he wrote one of the characters named Bo in it because he was like, if this movie gets greenlit, I want to make sure I am playing that character.
Right.
So I think that's like, would you want to direct yourself or more just be behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to be a part of it. I would like to do it. I also think, you know, it's like the more that LA is not a fun place to live in right now. And the more, you know, so it's super weird, and, you know, I don't know. And we can't afford to live here for very much longer. But the COVID has really made both my boyfriend and I realize that, you know, we don't really have to be here. Like, we have the capability to do what we do elsewhere. So, you know, that might kind of force me to have to, you know, direct and write and act all at the same time. But I think it would be so much fun. It would be great. Like, I love Frances Ha. Like, you know, Greta Gerwig is so cute, and I love that, you know, and I'm like, oh, I want to do something like that.
I think another thing to relate it to right now in San Francisco, all these companies are saying remote till 2021, remote till later, Twitter, Google. So many people have left San Francisco. They're moving to Tahoe, and they were interviewed, and it was like 60% of people interviewed said that they would leave San Francisco forever if they could still work for their company. I think LA is going to be the same way. I mean, Atlanta is so booming right now, and Boston is still trying and doing all right with it. They never got that Hollywood East off the ground, but like, not only that, you could move to Minnesota and make movies there, and they could make it to Sundance, and you could never have to leave. I mean, that's the kind of thing is, back in the day, you had to move there, and that's where you lived forever. And now you're just like, I'm going to make a web series in Dallas. And if it makes money and I need to go to LA here and there, I do it, but I don't have to be there forever to make it.
Well, I think it's cool because it's like,
I mean, I know.
You can go.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to point out that, like,
I know.
It's like you're going back. You're technically, in a way, like, you're going forward with, like, technology where you're right. You have these tools to make stuff anywhere, but I like the idea that it's like, because you're kind of going more low budget, you're kind of also harkening back to more, you know, character driven stuff, which I think is important, because I've heard people say, like, oh, we're not going to get more like Star Wars. We're not going to get as many Marvel movies. And I'm like, that's not really a bad thing. I think we get too much of that anyway. I think it's time for, like, other, better, stronger character-driven stuff to kind of rise up a little bit, so.
Yeah, movies that make you think.
Yes.
No
true.
More sequels, prequels, spin-offs.
Yeah.
I would ask you this.
Totally.
What is one role that you wish you had played that character? Franchise or movie, or what sequel would you want to do where you take on the younger or older version of somebody?
Man, you know, I always really, the first time that I really, 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 like, felt envy when I watched a movie was Winter's Bone, Jennifer Lawrence's role in Winter's Bone.
Yeah, fair.
That's where I was like, because I had kind of known, like, the kind of movies that I wanted to play in, but like I hadn't really seen it, or like been able to kind of, like, you know, like, give someone a tangible example. And as soon as I watched that movie, I was like, that,
Yeah.
like this is the good, this is the shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess like that. I don't know. And like, have you guys seen the show Poldark? It's a
I don't
BBC
think so.
show.
No.
It's super well done. It's like, it's a period piece, but the lead in that, I would totally, I would love to be in any period piece.
Yeah. Okay. What about Drunk History? That's like a period piece, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be fun to be on that kind of show, because the cast that they have on those, the people that you
totally.
act alongside are just
Oh, amazing.
I guess kind of pre-COVID, post-COVID, current COVID, what advice do you have for people who want to be actresses? Like you had named a website that you get your casting roles from. What is, and also I think it's nice that you're saying you don't need to move to LA. You don't need to live in, a small place forever and struggle. You can do it from wherever you want. What kind of advice do you have for somebody who wants to?
Yeah. The thing, so I guess my advice is like, there is no one right way to get into this industry. And I don't know how the industry will be after all of this, but I know that for the decade I've been involved in it, people try to tell you that there is one right way, right? Like you have to, get on the, and it is like, there are certain things that help you, like getting on Actors Access, casting networks, like any kind of place where you can get breakdowns and submit yourself to auditions and everything. But I think that there is this preconceived idea of an actor who is an actor, but the reality is that acting it's like, the reason I love it is because I love to learn and I'm obsessed with the world, and I am in a constant panic because I feel like there's not enough time to get to know everything I want to know in this world. And acting to me is like the ultimate exploration and the like permission to explore the world. So the more you do, the better. Like I'm always going to school, and like, people are like, why are you going to school? You're an actor, like, and I'm a equestrian and everything. It's like, cause like, the more interesting you are, the better actor you are, and the more it's like these casting directors get actors in their room all the time. And if you're interesting and more interesting than the previous actors, then you're probably going to get hired, and then you have more to work with. But I think that my biggest piece of advice to what I wish that someone had told me is that it's really, really important that you don't give people too much power, because every art form is very personal, but I think that acting might be the most personal because it is you. And at the end of the day, a painter has a painting and drawings and sketches, and a musician has a song. But the majority of the best work that you will ever do as an actor is not recorded. So you really have to love what you do. And the majority of what you do as an actor is not fun because it's very business oriented. It's marketing. You're your own CEO, treasury, secretary of your company, right? And it's like, it's not fun to do. So you better really, really love acting and the work that goes into it. But don't give people too much power, because it's a very, very personal art form. And you'll hear people say, don't take it personally. But I really think those are such empty words, because everything you do is personal. And you are willingly exploiting your vulnerability all the time for people who spend their lives avoiding doing that. And so it really has to be something that you do for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. So you got to take care of yourself and say no when you don't want to do something. Don't say no because you're scared of the workload that, is entailed with a role, but say no when you want to say no. Like if you don't want to play the busty blonde, say no. You know, I mean, even if they offer you, they keep upping the rate, you know, and offering you more and more. It's like, if you don't feel right in your gut, say no. And everyone, if you say no in Hollywood, everyone but you will be upset. But it's like 2 years down the line, who cares? Like, you're going to feel okay about yourself. So, I think that it's a very, very difficult industry to get into, but you know, if you're not in LA, you can do it. And I think that you can even do it for the better, because you're not in the middle of all of the stigmas and the stereotypes, and you're not in this huge pool of, you know, other actors who look just like you, you know, and just play around. Anyone can make anything now. You can find people too, like network wherever you are. And obviously don't find a serial killer, but
there's a great app. There's an app called Shaper, SHAPR, and it's like Tinder for business. You can start a band, you can find actors and actresses, you can find people to start a tech company with. But yeah, you're 100% right. If you live in Dallas, type in Dallas filmmakers and join the group of 3,000 people and become friends with them. I was in one in Denver, and people would say, I'm looking for somebody to score. I'm looking for a DP. You're going to find some people who are like $8,000 for my boom mic usage. And other people are going to say, hey, let's all do this for free and see where it goes. And I mean, honestly, shoot shit on your iPhone. I have a DSLR that's 1080 and it's a great camera, but my iPhone shoots 4K. I mean, somebody.
Dude, so many the iPhone. It's like, why do we even have cameras?
It makes
it's easiest thing to use in the world, and like it's cool that you guys brought that up about how you can do this anywhere. Because 2 years ago, like right as I drove down to Atlanta, I immediately flew out west with my friend. We met up with the DP. We shot in Utah. We shot in Idaho. We shot in all these states. That short film's coming out hopefully in the next couple of months. But the cool thing is that DP we met up with, he's incredibly experienced, and all he asked for is that we pay for the film and his like hotel room and stuff like that. And he was more than happy. And then by the end of it, he was like, that was literally like the most fun I've ever had, like shooting something, because it was like a road trip. We just like, we drove around, we like ate good food, we shot amazing scenes, and it was the best. So like,
yeah, I love shooting things with like fewer people more than I like shooting like on a big professional set, you know, because there's still a sense of like being professional about your job, right? Like everyone can be professional about their job, but it's so fun when you get with a bunch of people who are just really passionate about the project. I mean, if you have a good script and you have a good vision, then people are going to want to be a part of it, regardless of whether it pays or not. You know, I mean, the last feature I did that will hopefully come out at the end of the year, it was like, there is no other experience that I can equate it to that I have done thus far. Like, it was so special because everyone was so passionate about it and not one person was getting paid.
That's a fantastic point. I mean, if you believe in a product, sell yourself and sell that product, and reach out to the DP in your town and the audio person, the light person. And you can't, in comedy, people say exposures, it pays in exposures. Don't even say that. Everybody hates that. But be like, I'm doing this project. It could go to Sundance. Who the hell knows? It probably won't. But, you know, use it as a demo reel. I think that that's a good thing too, as if you're an actor or actress, like be in 10 college films, do them all for free, and then say when they're done, send them to me, and then cut together your own demo reel, and now you have a free demo reel. You didn't have to pay anybody to do it. You made your own demo reel, write your own stuff. iMovie is on the iPhone. You can shoot a movie and edit it on your iPhone. I mean, somebody just made the first movie ever done with a backup camera in a car. Of course, there's drone movies, there's GoPro movies, there's now that. I mean, get creative. I think now is, I mean, COVID's gonna be the time of indie movies, where I'm trying to write an hour and a half movie just to make one where I am the only person in the movie and I'm the only subject in it, because it's COVID. I can't get a cast. I can't get friends together. This is the time to just make an indie movie. Have it be weird. Have it be meta, mumblecore, whatever. Make it and just send it out to a couple people.
Creativity is born from boundaries. Like as soon as you can do whatever you want to do and you have no boundaries, there's kind of an element of the creativity that's lost that makes whatever you're about to make interesting, So I think that this is a prime time for some really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there are still some big productions happening. We'll see how long that kind of goes on for. Hopefully
Yeah.
things settle down and productions are still safe and doing the right things. But yeah, I mean, go out and make stuff. And I mean, yeah, Tom's a phenomenal editor, and I'm having him look at one of my things, and I think he's doing it for free just because we're friends. So that's nice. We'll see we'll see how much work it is. But no, I mean that's the thing. Just talk to people, find people in your area. Of course, maybe post COVID, get more into that.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting time. So you said, you're hoping that your other feature comes out. I feel like you did have a horror story about one of your productions to talk about, but what do go into detail with that and kind of, I guess, close out by saying what movies are in post that you were a part of? What movies can you talk about that are coming out?
So you guys reminded me that Ground Floor, which I completely forgot I did, because most of the roles that I have actually been cast in are because I'm like the backup choice.
Oh.
I always say I might not be the best, but I am the most reliable actor because I do my work and I show up.
I respect. I always say if I don't care if I'm first, I just don't want to be last. So if I'm second best, third best, 12th best,
I would prefer to be first, but if I'm not, that's fine.
Just not last. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this mutual friend of Steve and I, he went with another woman. I think they shot this movie in England at some old house somewhere, and they just kind of, shot a bunch of stuff, and then. I haven't seen it, so I have no idea. I kind of know the premise, but they called me literally the night before they needed me and asked if I could play an evil therapist. So, Ground Floor, I am Dr. Fitzgerald, and I'm an evil therapist.
Did you go to England?
I improv'd everything.
Did you shoot in England or back in California?
No, they came, so we set up a doctor's office, so I guess it's kind of they needed more of a story, they realized, to the plot, so they created kind of another part of the story, and it has to do with me and a higher up boss who is runs the whole thing, if I remember correctly, because this was, I think, 2 years ago.
Yep.
And so I showed up and we just shot everything that they needed in a therapist's office for 3 hours, 4 hours. And then, and they just added it and made it a through line of the whole movie. And then I did the film that I love so much, The 10th Lodge. It's about a cult. It's actually based kind of on the idea of the Jonestown Massacre. So it's not a light film. It was shot in black and white too. Cool. So it's.
I think. Yeah. Did you post a set pic from that a few months ago?
Yeah, I did.
It was you out on a lake or a cabin out on the deck. Yeah. Okay. Oh wow. So do you know when that's coming out?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. So it's based on the idea of the Jonestown Massacre. So it's a mass suicide kind of thing. But it's very cool. I love the structure of it and the cast is phenomenal. I mean, some of those actors I think we're going to see in the future for sure.
Is there a release date for it yet? Do you know?
Not yet. It was supposed to be released, before freaking COVID, but, but I guess it's during COVID, I know the director took some time to really get the edit locked down and, to where she wanted it. So it ended up being good, but I don't know. I'm super excited about that one.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And I know that 12 Days of Christmas, I watched it on Vimeo. But it is on Amazon Prime to rent. It's on Vimeo to rent, which I didn't even know they rent. It's on Vudu.
Oh, I didn't either.
Yeah, $4.99 on there. It's on Vudu. Is there anywhere else that
Yeah, Vudu. I think kind of anywhere that you can rent a movie on a streaming platform for the most part, the general ones.
That's how we always say. We're find our podcast on It's on Spotify and wherever
On the
podcasts
things.
are.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, our podcast is called the Weiliotis Podcast. Like, if you type that in, it's not going to bring you anywhere else. So that's
Nope.
Yeah.
kind of the best word to go with. Any questions you had? Any final questions, Tom, about production or anything? I know that you work on sets.
Yeah, nothing I can think of at the moment. I mean, like I said, it is kind of crazy what's going on right now. Like I don't, not to be a nihilist, like I hate thinking like this, but part of me, because I've been on film sets for the past 2 weeks now, I can't help but feel like this is kind of like the calm before the storm, or the second storm.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it seems like if 1 or 2 people get sick, they're gonna have to shut production down. And even though people seem to be in the right, state of mind, like they're taking precautions, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I hope these productions can finish, and we can keep taking these safety measures to ensure that people are safe, and productions are still going on, people are still working. But no, I mean, yeah, no, and what you said earlier about the kind of creative process and getting out there, that was honestly kind of beautiful. Like it's true. Like now is the time. It's like we have all the tools. A lot of people still have all the time to kind of do what they want. So it's.
Yeah.
And if you are gonna meet up with friends right now and film stuff, wear masks, stay 6 feet apart. You can do that. Don't do any love scenes in your movie, of course. I mean, like, everybody wear masks, have a small cast, have them. I mean, this is gonna be like the weirdest movies that come out where like everybody's 6 feet apart.
So weird.
And like it's how do you do that? Like you can't do a movie with like Siamese twins or couples holding hands or anything. Yeah.
No.
Well, I think we're really going to see a big change, like culturally, just in how movies are presented. And like, I know we mentioned Euphoria earlier, or at least the director, and how he made a movie in a house with those 2 actors. And actually, I read somewhere that for season 2 of Euphoria, the first episode's apparently going to be like a COVID special.
Oh, cool.
So they're just going all in, and they're going to just focus on all of this that's going on right now.
As we should. I really think that this. I mean, look, we're living through a very huge historical event, so I think that we should be making stories about this time. And I think too that people feel very isolated and separated and alone in what they're feeling, because I think, like, I was just saying to a friend that I'm like, I kind of had to, when COVID hit, like, I just hit the ground running with my work, and like I didn't really have a chance to, like, I didn't have downtime, and everything's hitting me now, and like I'm getting the kind of residual like anxiety and depression I probably should have felt now. And like, and I think the idea that this is our reality now too is very it's very hard and difficult, and I don't know if anyone's really expressing just how depressed and anxious and scared they are, in a very honest way. And art is the best place to say that. So
yeah, I mean, get your message out that way. Write a movie about. I mean, I'm writing a movie with a friend about a pandemic. It's a zombie comedy. Yeah. But I mean, they literally say, write what you know. I mean, do you want to sit down and write a movie in 2 days like Sylvester Stallone did with Rocky? He wrote that off of a fight that he watched. I mean, write something about COVID. And like you were saying, Euphoria is going to be about COVID, at least in the beginning. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they already scraped what they had written so far for their new season. And now they're doing it about police brutality, about Black Lives Matter, because the show is about goofy cops. And they did touch upon, there was a whole episode with Terry Crews getting, he went back to this nice neighborhood where he was with his family. His daughter dropped a stuffed animal. He went back to get it and he got arrested for being black in a nice neighborhood. And it super heavy, awesome episode, really just like educational and just really good to see TV doing that. And now they're like, hey, we can't just cancel our show because it's about cops. Like, how are we going to make this educational? How are we going to turn this into something? And that's what a lot of things, I mean, Cops, the TV show, is canceled, but how are you going to make Chips in the future if you do a remake of that? Like, I mean, it's very weird right now. I think Tom, maybe you can do this. I want to see what every famous TV show and movie would have been like if they had to adhere by COVID standards and be 6 feet apart. So do like a Full House episode where everybody's 6 feet apart and they're like, all right, bye, Danny. And like they're doing like awkward air hugs, and like nobody can come within 6 feet of themselves. Or like,
That's so
I mean,
funny.
The Mask with Jim Carrey. There's so many jokes you could do about that. There's definitely a lot in there, I think. Yeah.
This is just random. I'm probably still gonna post this on like Twitter or Facebook, but I want to post a link to that Future song, Mask Off, and just be like, this will be the anthem once we don't have to wear masks one day, whenever that is. But
we're
like,
gonna feel so naked.
I know.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
That's so funny.
we thank you so much for having for coming on our podcast. I think this is our longest
thank you.
podcast so far, which is awesome. And this is awesome advice because I'm so interested in the industry. I studied film in college, spent way too much money to study it. Didn't go to a film school, went to a school with a film program, been in recruiting, always doing stuff on the side. So I'm always super interested too to hear about what the business is like, auditioning. All of this is so interesting. Hopefully one day we can all collaborate on something, which would be really cool.
That would be really
Absolutely.
fun. I would love that.
There's a Saw escape room in Vegas. And when Tom moves to Vegas and I can fly again after COVID, we all meet up in Vegas at the Saw escape room and we come up with a horror movie idea and then we film it.
I'm into it. Let's
Hell
do
yeah.
it.
There it is. Well, thank you so much. Do you have a social media page? Do you have I know you're on IMDb. Is there anywhere people can follow your updates?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly am on Instagram. Yeah, it's Newton like the fig.
Nice. Easy enough. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and I'm mostly just on there.
Okay.
I don't post a whole lot. You'll see a lot of dogs and horses and
That's all mine
things.
is.
But I do post my movie updates on there every so often when they trickle out. So
Cool.
yeah.
Everybody follow Annie. And I think next week, we're definitely doing some horror movies in October. We know that. We're going to try to get my friend on to do some Broadway talk. And I think Tom and I are going to watch Cats for the next episode. We're going to watch Cats, and we're going to talk about Broadway musicals that shouldn't be movies and movies that shouldn't be Broadway musicals. Some that exist and some that don't.
I was thinking about this earlier today. That might actually be a good episode, like for like the first Wednesday of October, because like a lot of people say it's a scary movie. I haven't seen Cats yet, but people are freaked out by it. So like, I don't know.
People
Maybe
go
it's
as cats for Halloween. Yeah.
yeah. So it might be a good one.
Well, thank you all for listening. Find us.
Thank you so much.
Weiliotis Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then Weiliotis on Twitter. Follow Annie, Figure Like the Newton, and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.